Roswell in 1947.
Well, let's keep in mind, Cheryl, they started it. They put out that press release on Tuesday, July 8, 1947, claiming they actually captured a flying saucer. They claim that. We're going to end it.
You are the co-founder of the world-famous UFO Museum in Roswell. What's the present status and any new exciting exhibits there? I know you speak throughout the year. There are things planned throughout the 75th year. What's coming up?
Well, first of all, we're commemorating the 75th anniversary for the entire year. We're not just doing it over the festival, which we annually celebrate. We commemorate the 1947 each 4th of July weekend. But we will also have festival that is July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We have redesigned all the exhibits throughout the museum. They are all interactive. You actually put a button and you look at a monitor and you see the actual witnesses. More than just their picture on the wall, you hear their eyewitness testimony. We have the largest UFO library in the world. We have a research center that houses over 150,000 cases from all over the world. And our museum truly is the mecca for the entire UFO UAP phenomena. So please come and see us.
With this milestone year for Roswell, what do you think were the final chapter on this most famous of all UFO cases and how it fits into the big picture?
Again, we're talking the granddaddy of all UFO cases. You solve Roswell, you solve the UFO mystery overnight. I'm amazed, when you hear former President Bill Clinton talk about, well, I tried to look at the documents, I demanded to see the documents. Well, don't you want to handle the wreckage? Don't you want to see the bodies? Don't you want to actually see the remains? And so that is the final chapter, that until the government more than just says it happened, more than just tells us that the witnesses were telling the truth, we demand to see the actual proof. And we demand to see, once and for all, that material that was not made here on planet Earth.
Don, where can people find out more about your investigative, ongoing work about Roswell, your new book, and where can they find out more about the 75th anniversary?
Well, certainly we're on Facebook as far as Donald Raymond Smith, and also the International UFO Museum and Research Center. And the books are all available at Barnes & Noble and certainly at Amazon. Roswell will continue to be the granddaddy of all UFO cases for one main reason. Because it's the one case and the only case that can prove the UFO phenomenon within a heartbeat, overnight. And it's just a matter of them providing the physical evidence that proved to them back in 1947 that we are not alone.
Thank you so much, Don, for bringing us up to date on everything that's happening in Roswell, the anniversary, and for all of your new information on your ongoing case that's far from cold.
Far from cold, very proactive, and we always know that whenever we have anything late-breaking, important to present, we can come to coast and have an immediate audience. Thank you.
Well, so there you go, George. There's nothing like holding the evidence in your hand and seeing it with your own eyes, if you can.
It's just great to have somebody like Don Schmidt in the field of ufology, Cheryl, doing what he does, what he's done over the years. He mentioned our friend Kevin Randall, who appears on the week Thursdays and Fridays, giving us UFO reports. These are dedicated people, aren't they?
They really are, and it's almost a thankless job because, as you know, and as he referred to, there's so much ridicule and demonization of the people throughout the decades that they're trying to bring things forward, especially our dear late friend, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who was just such a strong force. He never wavered. He continued to express his views and to share his information that he believed that we had been visited and that we were not alone and that those UFOs were real. Not every case, of course, but he was a staunch supporter of Don's work as well.
I remember Edgar Mitchell telling me directly when I asked him, I said, Edgar, have you ever seen a UFO? And he said, no, I have not. But I've been told by people in government, high up in government, that we're being visited and they exist and that's good enough for me. And he was so stern about that, Cheryl. I'll never forget it.
He was. He actually said that he felt disclosure was happening way back in as early as 2008 in countries around the world in various ways. And he said that he did not feel that the government, the president, had to come out on the White House lawn and officially anoint that particular announcement to have real disclosure. So I guess the word disclosure has many definitions depending on who's defining it.
Have you talked at all with our friend Stephen Bassett from the Paradigm Research Group?
Yes, we spoke just a few weeks ago. Yes, he's hard at work, and he, as always, what else can you expect from Steve? He's a 24/7 robot, but he's all excited about things that may happen in the future, and he's always optimistic.
He sure was, and I tell a little joke about Steve Bassett because he's so good speaking that whenever I do a radio show, I could leave for an hour and come back and answer his question because he's still going.
He will. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He's never at a loss for words, and I don't know anyone who could possibly work any harder than he's worked for decades, working with him all of those years in the X conferences and the citizen hearing on disclosure. He's just amazing.
And when we come back, Cheryl, we're going to do open lines. You and me will take turns answering whatever the open lines discussion might be.
Sign up now for Coast Zone, our free email newsletter. Get it today at coasttocoastam.com. I know people in my life who desperately want to see their party completely decimate the other political party. Let me compare it to the Giants-Dodgers rivalry. If the Giants don't have the Dodgers, part of what makes baseball great is taken out of it for
You
them.
end up talking crap about the Padres, and nobody feels good about themselves after doing that.
Gary and Shannon, weekdays at 10 a.m. on KFI.
A couple years ago, the smell good plumbers at Mike Diamond started offering drainer stoppages for $99.
Bubba's everywhere spat out their pocket donuts and took notice. Drain stoppage offers came out of the woodwork like cockroaches.
One of these followers has 3 different stoppage prices, depending on the flyer or phone book you pick up. Yet the same reader won't even quote you a price over the phone.
Here at Smell Good Plumbing Headquarters, we're asking ourselves if imitation is truly the greatest form of flattery. You might ask yourself if Bubba's price slashing is worth the risk.
You know our plumbers smell good, but did you also know we're relentlessly background checked and drug tested? Not only are we licensed, but every single technician is registered with the state of California. I got a bucket of soap and a tube of deodorant. That Bubba can't say that.
My Diamond unstopped drains for $99. Find out more at thesmellgoodplumbers.com. Then call us at 1-800-446-MIKE. Contractor license number 399170.
This is Mike Diamond, and I guarantee my plumber will show up on time and smell good, or your house call is free.
If you're replacing your floors or getting new windows, you would never get just one bid. Why would you rely on a single bid when it comes to financing or refinancing your home? HMS Capital is the only lender I know that encourages you to apply with multiple lenders. Because by applying with multiple lenders, you'll end up with a lower interest rate, you'll save money, let them duke it out. You're going to be the winner. HMS Capital is confident they can get you the best deal. And it's no more work to do 2 or more loan applications than one. It's the same application. And just calling for a rate isn't nearly enough. You have to apply. Apply with HMS Capital and as many other lenders as you want. I've done 2 mortgages with HMS Capital, so it's easy for me to recommend them. It's free to apply, and there's never an appraisal fee or a credit report fee. Call 833-255-5698. Visit hmscapital.com.
HMS Capital Funding is a DBA of Company Finance, criminal attorney card, HMS Capital is licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, license number 4130360, equal housing lender.
News without the skew. KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County. Half Happy Friday. You made it through the week. It's time for your morning wake-up call. Here's Jennifer Jones-Lee.
Welcome to a Friday. I am going to give you a warning right now. I wanted to play an April Fool's joke on you. I really did. I'm like, I need to be the adult in the room. So I decided instead, a little later this morning, I am going to give you some prank ideas that you can play on your coworkers or your family members today. So no pranks on Wake Up Call, but I'm going to be your enabler so that you can screw around with other people today. Just beware, it is April 1st. So if something doesn't pass the sniff test in your life, or if somebody does something a little weird or asks you to do a little something weird, probably messing with you. Here's what's happening on your wake-up call. Ukrainian authorities say Russian troops have abandoned the contaminated Chernobyl nuclear site. At 5:05, I want to ask Aaron Kaczynski, is it because they're withdrawing, or is this just Russia again trying to cover up something because maybe its plan didn't work like it had hoped? Is it going to say, oh, no, we're not withdrawing, we're just repositioning those troops? We'll find out when we chat with Aaron in a second. The producer of the Oscars went on Good Morning America and said even he at first thought when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, it was just part of a planned bit. And a little later in the show, I'll tell you why Skippy is recalling thousands of jars of peanut butter. It's all because of concerns that the peanut butter could be contaminated. So I'll give you those details a little bit later in your Biz Bites this morning. Let's start with some of these stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Ukrainian authorities say Russian troops have abandoned the contaminated Chernobyl nuclear site. They say the troops were exposed to radiation while they were digging trenches at the site of the world's worst nuclear accident. An international atomic watchdog has not verified that claim. That's one more thing I want to talk to Aaron about. What about the morale? What about if you were one of those Russian troops who apparently thought they were just going on a training mission or something like that when the war started 6 weeks ago? All of a sudden now you've been assigned to dig trenches at Chernobyl and you find out that you've been exposed to radiation? That if the morale is down and then that comes out, that's not good. The war in Ukraine has entered its 6th week, and ABC's Monaco Sarabji says Ukraine may have scored a first in its struggle to resist the Russian invaders. Russia claims Ukrainian forces have attacked a fuel depot across the border inside Russia. If confirmed, it would be the first Ukrainian airstrike on Russian soil since the war started. The Russian governor says the Ukrainian airstrike set the depot on fire and hurt 2 people. A body's been found in Griffith Park. The LA Fire Department was called last night about 7 to help park rangers in recovering the body. Officials say it was found near the old LA Zoo. Investigators say they're trying to figure out how some gas cylinders exploded at an industrial park in Montclair.
Montclair Fire Battalion Chief Ryan Dierick says the explosion was violent.
There's approximately 100 to 200 cylinders on the property. It's difficult to know the contents of each.
Dierick says they got on scene just after 9 yesterday morning and were able to knock down the flames pretty quickly. He says at least 4 people were injured and for a few hours had to evacuate the surrounding neighborhood. In Montclair, Steve Gregory, KFI News.
2 people have been arrested for allegedly robbing a Louis Vuitton store on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. This happened yesterday afternoon about 2. Cops say the security guard was hurt and anyone with information is urged to contact the Beverly Hills Police Department. Well, a law firm representing most law enforcement agencies in the state says 2 years of calls to defund the police have scared off diverse and qualified recruits.
Why do I want to go into that profession at this point? It's in some ways a no-thanks business.
One of the firm's law partners in LA, Jeff Sheldon, says many new laws and reforms are long overdue, but
Some of the folks who are wanting to see reforms in policing, it's working against that in some ways. We're not getting the best, the brightest candidates necessarily, because there's a lot of people just saying there's too much at stake to go into that profession.
however, he says law enforcement's positive image is returning. And as reforms become more accepted over time, quality recruits should return to the profession. In LA, Corbin Carson, KFI News.
And the producer of the Oscars says he first thought when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, it was part of a planned bit. Will Packer tells ABC the LAPD came to his office and spoke with Rock.
They said, would you like us to take any action? And he said no.
Now, Packer says he did not speak to Will Smith directly on the night of the Oscars, and we're going to get into that at 5:20 with ABC's Jason Nathanson. All right, when we come back, we'll talk with Aaron Katersky about Russia saying it's leaving the Chernobyl nuclear site. Why? Why exactly? Did it have to do with the troops? Did it have to do with repositioning? Or did it have to do with Russia just didn't do so well in that area and decided, you know what, best to cut our losses? That's coming up in just a few minutes. TGIF right back at you. Nick Paliocchini, let's check the 14.
Thanks, Jen. Definitely. It is going to be busy first thing this morning as you're making your way southbound, coming away from the merge of Pear Blossom Highway through the Acton area, and that remains busy for you too. About Escondido Canyon, for the southbound on the 14, at least for the moment, not going to be bad for you again until you get a little bit closer to the Castaic area and Santa Clarita. Looks like from Golden Valley Road, or actually before it, 14 southbound going to be kind of light and patchy here and there for you as you make your way ahead into the Newhall Pass toward the 5. Got an update on something slowing down your drive. Pass 15 on your cell phone. Keyword is SoCal traffic or KFI traffic. Either will work. As you make your way southbound along the 101 out of the Sherman Oaks area, out the 405, heading into downtown LA to the 110. That's about 13 to 15 minutes so far for your morning drive. Westbound side of the 105, leaving Norwalk from the 605 all the way toward El Segundo, Sepulveda Boulevard, and LAX. 19 to 22 minutes for you there. As you're making your way along the 110 northbound, coming out of South LA from the 105 into downtown to the 10, looks to be about, let's say 7 minutes to the drive, and about 5 more if you're continuing toward the 5. KFI in the Sky helps get there faster. I'm Nick Paliocchini.
5:06 on your wake-up call. Aaron Katersky, good morning to you. So Russia says it is leaving the Chernobyl nuclear site. Why?
Well, we think it's probably part of the repositioning of their forces. The U.S. says there's no evidence that this is due to any sickness or radiation poisoning, as had been rumored. There's been a number of reports floating around out there. But the U.S. says they're not sure that a bunch of troops have been sick. More likely that they're just, repositioning to go elsewhere. But on their way out, the Ukrainians have said they ransacked parts of Chernobyl, looted a hotel, stole things from the power plant. Just not a great look.
No, not at all. And going back to those rumors that some of the Russian soldiers had, that had radiation exposure, I was just thinking about the morale, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, is we keep hearing about the morale with the Russian troops, and whether or not this is the case. Going clear back to the very beginning, 6 weeks ago, the reports that some of them didn't even know that they were going to war. They just thought they were doing training exercises. And to think that those same troops might have been the ones who possibly were exposed to radiation, those troops, or those reports then of those troops' morale being low, you could see why.
Oh, well, sure. And to say nothing of the frostbite, the lack of food. We heard from U.S. officials that they were sabotaging vehicles. They were ignoring orders in some cases. And as they've retreated, not necessarily from Chernobyl, but we know from Irpin and, areas more around Kyiv, that, the Ukrainians are pursuing. They're not just letting them go. They're firing on those positions and trying to take back as much ground as possible.
And when it comes to this repositioning idea, we know that, that Russia was now focusing more kind of on the Donbas region and thinking, okay, maybe that's going to be what our win is going to be in this. We will just reposition all of those troops there. Are the ones that were in Chernobyl going to that area?
Well, in some cases that's the belief, although they don't have any, assurance as to where they're going. But they believe that the intention would be to move them east, try to pinch the Ukrainian forces that are fighting in that area, and then try to secure turf in the Donbass and then down south. The negotiations aimed at ending the war are going to resume today by video link. As Ukrainian forces are making more advances on the ground. But we still think the Russians are going to hold firm on those territorial demands.
And just real quickly before you go, when it comes to those peace talks, with Russia saying, hey, we are going to reduce the attacks that we have on places like Kyiv, and they, and we will go and was it in trust, or that if we reduce the selling or something like that, it'll help ensure the trust or something during these peace talks. Yet if you ask the Ukrainians, there was no reduction. It just kept going even while those exact peace talks were going on, are the Ukrainians finding it hard to believe what the Russians are saying?
Oh, I don't think there's any illusion about what, the Russians are up to or capable of. That, even Zelensky put it this way, like, we're not naive. They know that the Russians aren't necessarily to be taken at their word. And I think that's part of the reason why Zelensky has been pushing for a meeting with Vladimir Putin, to get something signed and hopefully at that level it would be firm. But we don't think there's any breakthrough expected today on that. And you're right, the Ukrainians have been bombarding Kyiv and the surrounding areas, even as they said they'd reduce military activity. Just last night there was a strike pretty close to our position in Kyiv, and my colleagues had a look at it. They said, after a while the smoke just dissipated, and it was almost as if nothing happened. So there was a lot of curiosity about what kind of weapon may have been used, and so there's a ton of fight left, even though we all want to have hope in these peace talks.
Right. All right, Aaron, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you Monday.
Good weekend, Jen. Thanks.
Thanks. See you later. That's got to be so hard. I was thinking about this from President Zelensky's side, and when I looked at what does he tell his people, so he's got to tell them, hey, we've got peace talks going on. So what I'm saying is he's got to be a leader that gives hope to his people. But he also has to be the leader who says, hey, we've got peace talks going on, and this is great, and we are hoping that something good happens here. By the way, duck and cover if you're in Kyiv, because even though they've said, we'll reduce it, that remains to be seen. What an awful place to try and be in. How do you keep the spirits of your people high? And how do you keep the resiliency up? And how do you keep that fight up when everything that you think you're doing is being met with either, lies? Could you call them that? Or it's being met with, everything that you're being met with is contrary to what you're being told. I mean, that would just be a difficult position if you're the leader, how to balance that. Get back to some of these stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. A police officer in Inglewood's been shot in the Lenox area. The LA Sheriff's Department says the officer was helping a possible domestic violence victim retrieve some property yesterday. A man came up, shot the officer several times, and then drove off. The officer was listed in stable condition at the hospital. We hear that all the time, that the domestic violence situations are usually the ones that I feel like the cops end up getting shot the most, or they end up getting hurt the most. It's that they are the most volatile, kind of everyday situations that our police officers and sheriff's deputies have to deal with. Taxpayers can donate this year to help provide more training for police officers dealing with people in mental health crisis. The National Alliance on Mental Health California CEO Jessica Cruz says funding provides de-escalation and crisis intervention training that's taught by officers.
Helping us also provide peer-to-peer officer support groups to help officers and their families also get the support that they need if they are challenged with some sort of a mental health crisis.
Cruz says 25% of deaths and 40% of non-fatal police shootings since 2015 involved people with a mental health condition. She says these situations threaten the officer, the person in distress, and their families. 5 men have agreed to plead guilty to running an illegal sports gambling operation. The ring was led by a former pitcher from the Oakland A's minor league system who lives in Newport Beach. Wayne Nix has admitted his professional sports contacts he used to build the gambling business. His clients included professional athletes. I can't wait till that little black book comes out. LA County's Guaranteed Income Pilot Program is taking applications.
People have been lining up to put their names into the hat to be selected. This man says the money would allow him to start a commercial cleaning business.
It would free up my economic opportunity for dealing with bills, housing stability and things of that nature. Definitely food.
1,000 people will be randomly chosen to get $1,000 a month for 3 years. The deadline to apply is April 13th. Requirements include having a household income less than $56,000 for a single person or $96,000 for a family of 4. Blake Trolley, KFI News.
LA County DA Gascon says he's created a new human trafficking court to treat people forced into sex trade as victims and not criminals.
This is not a cookie cutter approach where everyone is going to be sort of put over in a single box. Each individual, whether it's a juvenile or whether it's an adult, is going to be assessed based on their needs.
Gascon says the diversion program will get people the help they need and move them out of the sex trade cycle. All right, when we come back, we are going to talk with ABC's Jason Nathanson. So, you've got the producer now of the Oscar saying, we did not know, we thought possibly that Will Smith and Chris Rock, the Slapgate, was a bit. And then they went, oh wait, what? That's not a bit? But I want to get into that. Did the Academy ask Will Smith to leave or not? Did Chris Rock, or is Chris Rock going to take the high ground on this one? Even though so far he has said, no plans to get Will Smith into any trouble. Apparently, whether or not Chris Rock wanted it, the LAPD might have been on standby. There is so much to get into this. Lots more behind the scenes that we're learning this morning. So we'll talk with Jason Nathanson about Slapgate in just a second. Right now, let's talk with Nick about, that darn 91.
So things in what's outside going to be light and patchy for you, but it's definitely busy as you make your way through Corona, coming off the 15 as you make your way past Green River. In fact, look at your drive time out of downtown Riverside as you continue toward Anaheim and Fullerton. Find about 38 to 40 minutes for your drive so far this morning, so a little bit lighter than normal, but definitely starting to see those delays as you make your way along the 57 southbound, coming out of the Pomona area from as far back as Temple. Looks pretty good all the way through Orange County, but checking your drive time, looks like it's already going to be about 14 to 16 minutes for the drive. Kfi Am, this guy helps get you there faster. I'm Nick Poliocini. Joining us today, Scott Painter, CEO and co-founder of Autonomy. It's a new company. It's right here in LA that offers car subscriptions. The whole idea behind a subscription was being able to simplify the transaction and make it easier for the customer. There is no better way to get into a Tesla Model 3 than the Autonomy subscription.
Buying a car also seems so cumbersome. This seems to be a super easy way to get you into the Tesla Model 3.
You're doing the entire thing on your phone. You're not buying a car. You are saying, I want to use the car. We own the car. We manage all the tax, the title, the registration, all the maintenance is covered. So this is a very real way to get access to flexible mobility without having to go through the headache of ownership and buying the car and the negotiation that often goes along with it. You mentioned that this whole process can just be literally minutes of you on your phone. What are the steps and how is it so quick? You simply go to autonomy.com, install the app, you simply give us your driver's license and that digital form of payment, and you get either the car delivered to you or you go and pick it up.
I'm excited about it.
Sponsored by Allstate. Saving money feels pretty good. Allstate. Better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit Allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today. This is Chris Collinsworth. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network, presented by DraftKings.
The Lakers wrapped up their road trip with a loss to the Spurs. Russell Westbrook had a team-high 24 points. They're back on the outside, looking in with the Spurs holding a tiebreaker for the final spot in the play-in. The Clippers couldn't close out the Bulls in overtime to clinch their spot in the play-in. And the Rams bolstered their defense by inking Pro Bowl linebacker Bobby Wagner to a 5-year deal. I'm Misty Jordan.
Download the DraftKings app and use code SPORTS to get a free shot at millions of dollars up for grabs this week for your first deposit. Minimum $5 required. Eligibility restrictions apply to DraftKings.com.
Your time is important, no matter what your age or stage. We know you're busy. That's why you can donate your car to Cars for Kids right now. Cars for Kids offers hassle-free pickup for every donor. Save plenty of time to fill out the easy online form at carsforkids.org. They'll send someone over the very next day to tow away your old or unusable car. Cars for Kids is the quickest and fastest way to get rid of your car. So do a good deed without losing any time from your schedule. Just go to carsforkids.org today, and remember, that's cars with a K.
The true crime
Crime Podcast. What Happened to Sandy Beale investigates the alarming death of a young woman who dreamed of a career in law enforcement. Journalist Melissa Jelson untangles the mystery at the heart of the investigation, revealing a troubling pattern by officials close to the case.
I didn't take any of their crap because I could tell that they were hiding something.
Listen to What Happened to Sandy Beale on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Be one of the first 40,000 fans at Dodger Stadium Saturday, April 16th when the Dodgers host the Reds at 7:10, and you'll receive a Legend of Dodger baseball bobblehead of Maury Will, sponsored by Bank of America. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion.
Want to make sure your recycling actually gets recycled? Californians are recycling smarter with tips on how to empty, dry, and sort properly. Visit iRecycleSmart.com to take your recycling to the next level. That's iRecycleSmart.com. Do your part. Recycle smart.
Hi, this is Dean Sharp, the House Whisperer. I've spent my career designing and building beautiful homes. I'm here on KFI to help you transform your house into a more beautiful home. And while we're at it, build yourself a more beautiful life. Home with Dean Sharp, the House Whisperer. Tomorrow morning at 6 on KFI.
Cutting those corners and anticipating problems and stopping them from happening. Since I'm a nurse, I can also address political issues or medical issues that are often the center of the chaos.
I love it. It's got a name. Of course it's got a name. KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Jennifer Jones-Lee, and these are some of the top